can only make about 4 steps forward before I touch the door. I'm in the cell for 23 hours a day. I'm used to it, and that's one of the bad things about it.
I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not rich, and I'm not powerful, but I'm an artist, and I knew that the only way I could get him out of prison was to get him to dream.
What kind of house do a man in solitary dream about? I don't dream about no house.
He's like, oh, the kitchen looks really great. I wanted it yellow, which is like totally 70s. He's been in solitary since 1972.
In the front of the house, I have 3 squares of gardens. I would like for guests to be able to smile and walk through flowers all year long.
Jackie, this the one for the 30 years?
Yeah, Mr. Hughes, this is the one he's in now.
And the majority of my life, it's been in a cell, in a cage. The majority of my life.
Solitary confinement is solitary confinement.
Yes and no.
Mm-hmm.
Some people deserve it and some don't.
This guy's been in prison 3 times my life. How can I be like this dude here where he's just at peace?
I need help. I'm doing this by myself, Herman. I need help.
I know. Look. This is the struggle, kiddo. All right?
I hear you. It was never my hope that he would have to rely on his house to get out of Angola.
Whether if I live in a house or not, it makes no difference. It is the symbol of what this house is all about.
Wow, I'm excited because we have a distinguished panel here who have come together, and they bring a variety of skill sets and a variety of information on a variety of topics. I'm going to introduce, well, I'm going to just go in order first because that's, if you're following me in your program. We have Dr. Siri Brown, our Ethnic Studies Chair right here at Merritt College. We have Activism, Mervin, who's an advocate for hunger and education here in the Oakland community. We have Brother Dwayne Dennerville, who's a historian and author here in Oakland. We have Minister Marie Levine, who is a close friend of mine and a prison reform advocate. I'm a speaker. Her specialty is prison reform and the psychology and the ramifications on the family. She has a brother who's been in solitary confinement for 23 years in Pelican Bay. We have Dr. Marlowe, who's a social advocate for social justice and change, the executive director of the Gamble Institute. We have Mr. Melvin Newton, faculty emeritus here at Merritt College, the older brother of Huey. And last but not least, certainly not least, is Pastor Alvin Sims. He's the pastor of the church that I attend. He is a leader, a servant, a mentor, and my very close friend, Pastor Alvin Sims. We have a couple of topics that we want to cover. They're listed at the bottom of your program. The social injustice of long-term solitary confinement, artistic expression as a form of social justice. I'd like to add, although it's not listed there, is the ramifications on long-term solitary confinement on the family. And as next steps, what is it that we can do? With that in mind, I'm going to introduce Ms. Burton because she is on a schedule and she has to leave and she wants to have a quick 3 to 4 minute conversation with you about some things that we can do right here in the community right now.
Hello everyone, my name is Kat Burton. I'm with the Alameda County Community Food Bank. I recognize some faces. I was actually here Monday. And I'm talking to you all today because, you know, you're gonna have a really amazing conversation with all the panelists here. And I also wanna let you know that there's some immediate things that you can do to fight the prison industrial complex that we have. And one of those is that we can currently change some of the policies that we have that our state has around how they treat people who are incarcerated and who are formerly incarcerated. And the food bank is working to change one of those policies. So right now, if you have a drug felony in California, you are banned for the rest of your life from ever receiving CalFresh or CalWorks, so food stamps or cash aid. Now, for people who are getting out of prison, many of whom who have drug felony offenses, thanks to the 3 strikes rule ending, we're not helping them get back on their feet at all if we don't allow them to have access to food, one of the most basic human rights that we have. And so the food bank is going up to Sacramento on May 22nd, and we would love to have your company there. In the very back on that table, I have flyers about us going up on May 22nd. We feed you, we give you breakfast, we give you lunch. You need to RSVP with me to reserve your spot on the bus, because we only got about 100 seats. But it's an amazing day, and our theme for this year is that ignoring hunger is the real crime. So ignoring hunger is the real crime. We're going to be talking about getting rid of this ban for people with drug felonies. The bill that will get rid of it is called SB 283. We're also going to be there to support a bill called 85, which is the Homeless Bill of Rights, as well as a bill called AB 271 by Assemblywoman Holly Mitchell, which will basically get rid of the maximum family grant rule that we have for CalWorks. If you are a child born onto welfare, you are banned for the rest of your life from ever receiving any kind of assistance. And so again, we're making families go hungry with our state policies, and the food bank is one of many organizations that's trying to change that. So again, flyers about coming up are in the back. It has my contact info there. Please come. And if you can't come, if you know someone who cares about this, tell them to come for you. And again, RSVP with me, because we are going to fill up. And then also in the back, I have these petitions that you can sign, that if you could get your friends and family to sign, to say that you support ending the drug felony ban. We're going to use those petitions to give them to Governor Brown, so he sees how many people in our state support getting rid of this ban. And there's a bunch of other bills that I would tell you about, like banning the box, but I don't have the time. So anyway, just get in touch with me. I can put you in touch with so many groups that are working right now to make our state a better place, to make it have the justice and equity that we all know we deserve, and that there are things that you can do to fight these things. We don't just have to sit there and take it. So with that, I do have to unfortunately go, because I'm going to a food distribution in Fremont. But like I said, my contact info is back there. Please send out petitions to your friends and families. Please get them back to me. Please come on the bus to Hunger Action Day, and please enjoy the panel with everyone else. So thank you all.
Thank you, Pam. A little housekeeping. We have a lady in the back here, lady in the yellow sweatsuit right here behind me, or behind you. She lost 2 cell phones during the sign-in, and there's a $50 reward for the return of those cell phones. So if anybody knows where those phones are or knows who has them, please have a conversation with her and make sure her property is returned. Thank you.
Give them up.
At this time, we kind of want to be informal about this, and are there any questions on the floor or comments that might help us get a discussion started? Or from the panel, as the case may be. I'd like to spotlight Dr. Brown, because she actually teaches incarceration in the industrial prison complex. So she's very knowledgeable about some things that we saw in the film. And Mr. Harper, who is a social worker in the South San Francisco jail. Dr. Marlowe is a nurse practitioner in San Francisco in the jail system. So we have a lot of knowledge here on the panel. And I think that it would behoove us to take advantage by asking pertinent questions that are pointed toward these people's various areas of expertise. Questions, anyone?
My question will be to the incarceration part. I forget which one it is. Which one is understood? Oh, okay. My question is in regards to the shoe. Do you know any information on how a person could be released other than snitching on someone or either dying in the back? That's supposed to be the only two ways out.
Could you rephrase the question, please?
My question was in regards to the shoot area of the prison. Pretty much how he was in the movie Herman House, how he's locked down in solitary confinement. I have a family member there. And they say the only two ways out is for you to be able to snitch on someone or either you die in the back.
We're talking Pelican Bay here?
Excuse me?
Are you talking about Pelican Bay? Because currently, the situation...
No, I'm actually talking about Corcoran State Prison. I understand that there's 3 prisons, which is Pelican Bay, Corcoran, and Valley State.
You know what, there's another petition that's going to be placed in the back, and that is to end long-term solitary confinement. It's something that's been going on throughout the colleges, throughout California. It's a real issue. And because right now, based upon what you're saying, those are the only 2 ways to get out, and that is to snitch, basically turn on your gangs and so forth, which you may get out of the shoe, but you're a dead person walking. So,
absolutely.
I don't think anyone in general could give you information. I think that you'd have to talk to some legal mind that can assist you at the prison, because general information is not going to help you. But what everyone can do is sign that petition to end, which is over by Stephanie, to end long-term solitary confinement in California. It's inhumane. There's no need I don't think there's anyone in California that's been on in solitary for 30 years, but 2 years, 5 years, it's just too long.
Oh, okay.
And that's the most honest answer you're going to get regarding your specific situation, unfortunately.
Okay. Is there anyone that can explain the step-down program? Is that really a step-down program, or is it another form of prisoners debriefing in order to get out of the chute?
I can't speak for everyone. Personally, it's just another snitch program.
Thank you.
I would like to add to that the step-down program, just like you said, is the same thing. It's just they changed the words. They changed the words, that's all. And the inmates, there is a group who has put together a lawsuit. There's a class action lawsuit for those that are in the security housing unit, which is the SHU. And so everyone that's been in there over 10 years, they're a part of that class action suit. Okay, so I don't know if your relative has been in there that length of time, but all those who have been in over 10 years will be included in this class action suit. The state, it was last month, they went to court and they tried to cancel it, but the judge that was there, she said, no, we're going forward with this lawsuit to end long-term solitary confinement in the SHU. So the conditions, are, what they are.
Right, I needed to ask that question because my brother actually, they have no access to really human contact other than words. Right. And he didn't know, he wanted me to research it, and when I researched it, it was so trickery. It looked like it may be a solution of getting out of the SHU, but I need to get the information back to him because he's not allowed to make phone calls. Right. And, he's locked down 23.5, he said 23.5 hours a day. Right. And so I just needed to know that so I can give him that information.
Yeah, it's the same.
Okay,
it's the same thing. So if they sign on to doing the step-down program, they're signing that they're debriefing. Basically, it's the same thing. Snitching.
Right, and that's something that he's not willing to do because it also affects your family members on the outside too. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I would suggest that you have a conversation with Ms. Marie because you guys have similar experiences. Is there anything else that anyone had wanted to ask a question about or wanted to add to the discussion?
How you doing? My name is President West. I'm in the culture program. I don't have a question, but I would like to thank Dr. Marlowe over there because when I was going through all the stuff that you're talking about, that people go through in prisons and stuff and come out and stuff, I took a chance and went to her program. The Gambling Institute on San Pablo Avenue, they told me how to do it. She said that I was scared to try to do it, that I didn't think I could. And but I didn't think I was able to do it. And it showed me that I was capable of it. And I like to
Thank you, bro. That's an excellent segue because I introduced Dr. Marlowe. She's the executive director of the Gambling Institute. So she also has two of colleagues of her who are a part of the Street Scholars Program, which is a peer mentoring program for formerly incarcerated and parolees. And I'd like to acknowledge Yima Lee. And Victoria Perez. And thank you for their serving popcorn and assisting with today's event.
Yeah, this question is in regards to the hunger strike that's, I guess it's on the verge of starting in the California penitentiary. I don't know all the details, but I did want to know what could a college campus do to support the hunger strike? Because they do make a lot of money off commissary and things like that. So what can we do as a campus to support what they're trying to change as far as police brutality and the money they're making off of that?
Well, I'd like to address that first. Excuse me. I'm a part of the Prisoner Hunger Strike Solidarity Coalition, and we formed this back in 2011 when they had the first hunger strike. And right now what we are doing is going out on first Fridays on 19th and Broadway, and we're standing out there. We have flyers, but it's a prayer candlelight vigil, and we just want to make people aware in our community of what's happening with the hunger strike. If things does not change, they will be going forth with the hunger strike July 8th, and also work stoppage. So that's one of the things that we're doing. We're trying to make people aware so that we can let Jerry Brown, our governor, know that there are people out here who want to support the prisoners for human rights, just for the human rights. And if they don't fulfill, I'm speaking of CDCR, if they do not fulfill the 5 core demands that were presented back in 2011, then they will be going forth with it. Another thing that we're doing is on Thursdays, this upcoming first Thursday, we will march around again the state building. If we could go down to Sacramento, that would be great, but we're walking around here in Oakland, the state building at 7 o'clock p.m., and we have 7 decrees that we have said as we walk around. We do these decrees to stop, and I would, it is published, but if I have information on the back table that you can pick up, that will, you can call into the number and I can give you the information on the 7 decrees. There's 3 things, and this is another one. But Thursdays at 7 p.m. we'll walk around 7 times stating the decrees. And also on Thursdays, we have a prayer line to call into, and that number is on one of these sheets, from 7 to 8. Every Thursday until the hunger strike begins, if it begins. So.
And
There's a flyer called 5 Tips on How to Be an Activist Now, and it has the website for the prison hunger strike information on there, so that's also an easy way, and all the decrees are listed. So it's a way for you to easily get involved and learn more about what's going on with the prison hunger strike and get involved right away now very easily. So one of the things we were hoping in watching this movie is that it would stir some activist energy within you. So please pick up all of these flyers and get on the website. They actually have a really amazing blog that you get information from all over the country about what's happening in other prison systems. So it's a very informative way, as well as to keep you in touch with what's going on with the prison hunger strike movement in the state of California. So, and it's wonderful that we have an expert on our panel as well about that.
I have a question. I don't need a microphone. Regarding this, what you just talked about in the state of California and the jails and the deplorable things that are going on in the jails, are we finding that California is highlighted one of the worst states as far as statistics goes, as far as the care of the inmates? Or, you know, what is there an actual ranking state by state as far as the deplorable things that are going on in the prisons right now? Or, you know, obviously I'm concerned about California, but I'm just wondering on a national basis where California stands.
Well, California incarcerates the most people behind Texas. But just to point out, California was also the only state in the union to have a Supreme Court mandate to reduce its prison size because it can't seem to do anything of its own or, you know, in a proactive way. So I can't speak. New York's prison system is pretty rough too, but definitely California, the fact that it's gone to the Supreme Court to, you know, have this realignment, which I don't know if people are familiar with, the AB 109, that is a very strong comment on, as you say, the deplorable conditions within the prison system that we have in the state. And now what we're seeing is people are being recycled down through the jails, and we're still not quite sure how that's playing out. People are serving longer times in the jail systems now. But people are not getting the services that they need to be getting in order to stay out of either jail or prison. So, and then I'd be interested to hear that.
Yeah, I'd like to add to what's being said, in that really I'm not sure how beneficial it is to compare state to state, in all honesty, because what we're talking about is this prison industrial complex that is incarcerating millions of people and even hundreds of thousands that aren't ever even counted, like those in Guantanamo Bay and those in the juvenile hall systems and those in the immigration detention halls. So the numbers that we see don't even really reflect the magnitude of what we're talking about. Is there even such a thing as to say a more humane prison? That seems like an oxymoron to me. What's really happening, at least from my perspective, is that we're talking about this mass incarceration that all of us in this room are very aware of, personally, family members, or just from watching films like this and being aware of what's going on. That this is a really critical, in my opinion, the most critical issue that's facing the African American community in particular, because it impacts every aspect of our families, our communities, our lives. And while they're continuing to profit, you know, off of our free and forced and underpaid labor while we're incarcerated, our families and our communities are suffering long term. Like was mentioned, you're released, but you're not really ever free. You can't get food, you can't get financial aid, you know, you can't get employment. All these kinds of aspects of this system that keeps its hold on us and places us, you know, in this position where our backs are forced against the wall. The film that we saw, you know, is problematic to me. It was problematic to me, but problematic mostly because it really did politicize this case, the Angola 3. You know, it really did politicize the fact that that was the first Black Panther Party chapter inside a prison, and that the reason why the Angola 3 were put into solitary confinement was because of their political activism. And so we really have to become familiar with what is a political prisoner. The United States government says we have no political prisoners yet. That is a complete lie. And the political prisoners are the ones that we should be working to free first. Because these are the brothers and sisters who were willing on the outside or on the inside to sacrifice themselves for the whole, for the collective. And they're incarcerated, and they need to be free. Not just Herman Wallace, who obviously we see that this is a gross violation of human rights. I can't even applaud that he was taken out of solitary confinement. He needs to be released immediately and compensated for this massive violation of his rights. But what the film really did tell us, and that's why the questions are so great, is what can we do? All of us need to get involved in this issue, and there are so many organizations, and everyone up here has information about the organizations that are fighting for prisoners' rights and to end this mass incarceration. So we all strongly encourage people to get involved in that, because they'll do to us until we decide that we're tired of it. And the question about Merritt College, it's time for us to, take this issue on as a college. And maybe students want to organize around that and create some action around that and get involved. Because it impacts all of us, and we should all be concerned.
I want to speak to her question because I just did a group. And it's an interesting thing because I completely agree with the sister right here about the fact that we need to be looking at it as a whole. But I would say I completely agree with this sister because I think we need to look at the situation as a whole. I think the fact that you can have a presidential race and the issue of prisons in California or in the country, it's never come up as it relates to a governor or a president or a senator. It seems to be always off the topic. We can talk about everything but that. And as she said, it impacts every aspect of our lives. And the truth of the matter is, if you have a family member that's in solitary confinement, you are in solitary confinement with that person. You want your family member that's locked up to be rehabilitated because that will rehabilitate you. We are tied to our families, friends, and loved ones in the prisons. We cannot get around that. We have to live with it. So we want action. But I did just do a group in which the question came up, which prisons did they think was worse? And it's an interesting thing when you ask folks who've been in prisons, moved from place to place, the South is the worst. Yes. They mentioned Florida, they mentioned Phoenix, whatever places in the South, it's because based upon the fact that we have contracts with so many private prisons, when they become crowded here, we will send them off and pay basically welfare states to keep our people there. And the treatment that they receive is pretty ridiculous. It's pretty harsh, it's pretty horrible. So, I agree that we need to look at it as a whole. When you ask individuals, and maybe some folks here that's been in 2 or 3 prisons in 2 or 3 states, what they think is the worst, it's always a different response.
Okay.
Can I say something? So I'm hoping to address this the topic about artistic expression as a form of social justice. How many people in the audience are artists of any sort, spoken word, and things of that nature? There's a lot of politicized agitprop in Oakland, especially. Is from this artistic community. I kind of wanted to refocus the discussion surrounding the film itself and this artist. I agree with Dr. Brown here that it wasn't politicized enough in terms of talk of the Black Panther Party and this being the first chapter within the prison system, or the first Black Panther within the prison system. However, as an artistic project, I think it's political because we're here discussing these matters and these particular issues surrounding the objects that this person made. And there's always a sort of a double-edged sword when it comes to a New York artist coming down to the South and building a house and things of that nature. So there's a I forget what the brother's name was in the film, but really just talking, was like, you need to take your Yankee ass home kind of thing, that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, so there's always a double-edged sword in regards to that, and I believe Herman Wallace was aware of that too. he spoke about it briefly too. He says, yeah, I know she has her career, this art career, but I'm also using this in order to raise consciousness. Now, the reason I'm mentioning the artistic part of it is because I think this is a very important thing. One of the things that makes the prison industrial complex so insidious is that it's huge. And like my brother just mentioned here, it flies under the radar because of the silence surrounding it. So the overwhelming majority of people in America, this thing is outside of their imagination. It's outside of our imagination what it's like to live in a 6x9 square. You see what I'm saying? So her taking this thing outside of the prison and putting it in the public space as a visual event is a very political thing because it brings it back into the realm of the imagination, which is exactly what the status quo is trying to do. They're trying to shut down our imaginations. A lot of great politicized art over the years and movements have been about liberating the imagination first, because that's how people are easily imprisoned, by shutting down their imagination. The surrealists, the negritude poets all talk about liberating the imagination as an act of revolution, right? And so I wanted to just kind of speak to that aspect of it, not necessarily completely exonerate her from some of the, maybe possibly self-serving in some ways, artistic careerism, but also acknowledge the fact that this is a somewhat political, highly political piece that she was doing in terms of liberating the imagination.
Thank you very much. It seems like in prisons there used to be such a thing as rehabilitation, and it seems that we've gotten away from that. And you used to be able to go get your GED, learn a skill so you can be ready once you return to society. Now it seems like it's just another slavery. You know what I'm saying? It seems like the prisons are now plantations where people are being sold to the highest bidder. Do you ever see the prisons going back to where they're going to be rehabilitating people and actually trying to give them a chance once they get out?
You're right on point on that. During when I was in college back in Stone Age, during my undergraduate, couple of division undergraduate years, I specialized in prison community. And that was a time during the 50s and prior to that, and even into the early 60s, we did have the concept of rehabilitation, but we moved away from that. And the whole question of will we go back to that, that's a big question, and it requires a big movement to do that. Many of these things require gigantic movements. The whole issue of the legitimacy or the usefulness or the harmfulness of shoes and isolation requires movements, political action on the outside, and also legal action as the spearhead to that in order to change it. Those are some large things, but what I would like to speak to is the little things, the things that everyone in here can do for prisoners in general. Because most prisoners who are incarcerated will come back out and be somebody's neighbor. And what you want coming out as a human being, you don't want something coming out that you wish was back in there. Now, the interesting thing about this film to me, the artist and the Herman house, wasn't so much Herman's house, but the project. It could have been Herman's airplane, it could have been Herman's big shoe, or Herman's suit. The point is, what she brought to him was a connection with the real life. And she brought the outside world into him and brought his mind outside. My personal experience with that is my brother, Huey, was in isolation for all the time that he was in prison. We managed to, through appeal, to get him back out, but it was just 3 years. But you can go crazy in 3 years. So my concern, and my family didn't necessarily understand that I come from a large family, was they all wanted to visit, but they all liked each other, so they wanted to go together. Big sister and the brothers, let's go visit you. I had a difficult time saying, don't do that. Break it up so that every day that there's a visiting day, someone is there. Because when I went down during that period following his total isolation, when there were no visits, I noticed twitches in his face. And I said, well, to myself, this we have to deal with that. So what we did was we did put in place, not so much with the family, they still like being together when they went, but the various, because we put it in the newspapers, we had propaganda out there, we had the defense committee, and of course there was a Panther Party. And the lawyers were there, but not on the same day. Columnists were there because they were interested. So it became a large issue, but we can do that for Joe Smith. If you have friends or a family, you put it together in an organized way just to go in and visit. Herman enjoyed talking on the phone to Jackie. I mean, that gave him life. And I guess I could go on and on. I'm going to cut this off. You get the picture, right? Everyone in here can do that kind of thing.
I'd also like to speak to that. Rehabilitation, yes. You know, politics work in a sense of whoever makes the loudest noise, right or wrong. If you can make the loudest noise long enough, you get enough people behind you, then things happen. But we can't afford to wait. Just because we cannot get the government, or we're not at that place yet to where we can get the government to work on behalf of people coming out of incarceration, in our churches and our communities, we can start there. We need volunteers to see these people, of course, our family and friends that come back into our society, to help them get their GEDs, to help them come back and be sociable, functional in our society. And there's all kinds of things that we can do. A church is really just a bunch of volunteers that come together to want to reincarcerate man back into some type of sanity. Everyone in my church, I tell people all the time, if you're not a sinner, you're in the wrong place. I don't have a place for perfect people. And so all of us come together knowing that we're in a hospital, knowing that we've come back to get our lives together to a greater good. And so as you learn how to help other people, you'll be surprised at the therapy that it actually does to you.
My name is Chance. I'm a student here at Peralta, not at Merritt. But first of all, I'd like to thank you all for speaking. Very enlightening what everyone's saying, and thank you, Ronald, for putting on the film. I'd just like to add on to what you were saying. You were saying what makes changes, who makes the most noise. Well, in a capitalist society, who makes the most noise is often who has the most money. But look about who elected Jerry Brown. It was the prison guards union that was the greatest contribution to him. They actively push for policy that doesn't advocate rehabilitation because their job security is dependent on people coming back to prison, and rehabilitated people do not return to prison. I'd also like to add on to what you said, and I apologize, I don't remember your name, but using art as a means to bring forward issues is very powerful, and I just wanted to shout out an event that I'm holding at Laney. We're going to watch a film called Well Contested Sites. It's an art film that was filmed, and you talked about also how this film, this artist, and there was kind of an awkward relationship. This film was made by formerly incarcerated people. It was filmed in Alcatraz prison, and it kind of gets people emotionally to recognize what it feels like to be in prison, just as she did by bringing the cell outside. So next Tuesday, April 30th at Laney in the Student Center, 4th floor, we're going to be watching that film. That's only the first step. The second step is followed by something like this, a panelist discussion to politicize the issue as well. I would like to see all of you there. I got some flyers in the back, and thanks again for everybody coming out.
Hi, my name is Avery. I kind of relate with the community. As you know, I was formerly incarcerated. You touched on a lot of things. For one, there's no such thing as rehabilitation. I spent 2 years in the shoe. They call it security housing unit. That's the same thing as the hole. You're actually underground. Daylight is your only light. That's why I'm so happy here, and I love my life today. You know, turn it around and change. I'm supposed to keep to this around life. I love to spend time with you, with Federico. One thing we need to do is not just getting them out of the hole and out of the chute, but restoring their privileges while they're in there to bring them back to life. It's a big business. That's why they added their name Rehabilitation on the end. It used to be CDC. Now it's Rehabilitation because it's a money thing. But it's going to take voices like this on this panel to stop all that. When you're going up against the government, it's like they can plant things you can plant and plant the seeds to try to get these brothers and sisters out of these places. But thank y'all again for all y'all attending.
Yeah, I'm a little scared when I hear the word rehabilitation because with many of my friends back in the hood in New Haven, Connecticut, at the Heights, being in prison for more than 15 years now. And then reading about the prison industrial complex, you know, this has become a money business thing for the biggest investors in the world, not just the United States. And I don't want to teach about this, but because of that, like when I was in New Haven, I remember when some of the organizers and researchers there found out that Yale University was investing in prisons. This is Yale University. You know, not too long ago I found out that it is possible that even UC Berkeley is doing the same thing. When you have these big financial institutions, not supposed to be even financial institutions, but education, investing into this prison industrial complex, and you have right now, you know, bases, we're opening prisons, privatized prisons, people making money out of it around the borders of Mexico and the United States. My question is, you know, and like the brother here said, the pastor, you know, when you have the church, you know, the holistic church, I only speak on behalf of evangelical churches that I'm a part of, that I don't see them move on something so important like this. Few that I know move on this. How can the panel here help us have hope, and how do we see that it is possible that these political people that we're going to be, that we've been doing, we're going to continue doing actions to, you know, and getting people to sign. How do we stand against the biggest forces of money, finance, that they want prisons to happen? You know, rehab, I don't believe, rehab I'm scared of. I'm scared of rehab when we say we want the prisons to have rehab and to be better inside. I get scared of that because then that would be another excuse for these corporations to keep on putting more money and saying, look, we're going to turn this into a 5-star hotel, which is only going to make prisons bigger and stronger. What do you say to us who, in a way, we struggle with, even with hope sometimes?
Yeah. So I'm going to basically expose my my area of what I consider my area of expertise, which is visual culture. And so I'm going to turn again to your question, is that what we can do in terms of making things visible is a very powerful and political thing to do. Oftentimes we talk of the corporations or the prison industrial complex. It still remains this sort of you know, amorphous dark matter thing out there. I want to know who are the wardens, what their faces look like, and if we can put them on posters and things like that. And when you make these people visible for the evil that they commit, then those are the types of things that can change people's mindsets. And when the public understands really what's going on, that's one of the, so visual culture is a very important thing. What the artists do is a very important thing in terms of raising people's consciousness about that, because then you can make decisions about things that are now within the realm of your imagination. There's this visual cultural scholar named Nicholas Mirziyoyev, and he talks about this word visuality turning up in the 19th century, and it was a war term. This is a term that they used in strategies in war, is making your enemy visible in certain ways. And that's when the etymology of the word, when it first turns up, this word in the English language turns up visuality. There's one other thing I wanted to make clear too. There was a point in this film where there were some prison architects, I believe it was, that were talking about different spaces and things of that nature. And one of them showed this very, very old prison in Philadelphia, the way it was constructed. And in the middle of it, you have this tower, right? And the tower is a thing that is constructed such that all of the prisoners feel like they're being viewed at the same time. And so it shuts down your actions in a certain way when you feel like you're always continuously under surveillance. It's called panopticon. Pan, meaning all, and optic, for viewing. So all, like an all-seeing eye on you at all times. This ought to also bring into focus what's happening now with a lot of these surveillance drones going on with the police department right here in Alameda County trying to purchase these surveillance drones. So what I'm getting at here again is in terms of what weapons we have, just off-the-shelf stuff, is these are very important too. It's making things visible, making the police officers, I'm gonna be polite, making them visible, and also the research to find out who are the particular people that are the investors in the prison industrial complex, and not just getting their names, but I wanna know what they look like. How many of them are white men? And just line them up and make wanted posters, all kinds of stuff like that. That's the way the artist and visuality is engaged as a weapon. That's why we're bombarded with images all the time, with the television, things of that nature, with shutting down the political nature of music really by, making it into corporate videos with a lot of madness on it. They understand that visuality is a very powerful thing, and they continue to use it. And we have access to that type of power ourselves with off-the-shelf technology and our artistic creativity. I'm hoping I'm addressing that.
To add what Brother Devin said, I think sometimes we take our eye off the ball. And I'm sorry that the brother that just stood there and said that he was in the shoe and didn't believe in rehabilitation, I'm sorry that he walked out, because the question I wanted to ask him is, how did you do it? How did you get out of that situation? Because you're asking us, and I don't necessarily know if any of us, had those experiences of incarceration, being in the shoe, and walking away, being able to talk about it successfully. And I think we had that conversation has to start with them. How did you do it? How did you negotiate everything that was going on to walk out of there successfully with your mind intact? We need to have that conversation with them. There are so many heroes that are here at this school that have endured just unimaginable things, and they sit next to us and they ask simple questions, or worse, they sit and they say nothing, they just listen. The answers are right there. Because the truth of the matter is, we want to go into these systems, we want to pull our folks out, but once they get out, they have to know how to negotiate this world. That's why so many fail to go back, because they're not prepared for it and they don't have the mentors. And I'll tell you a secret. When we're talking, they're not listening to us. They listen to each other. They don't trust us. We all represent systems. We don't know their experiences. They trust each other. So if you have a brother that walked in and said, I've experienced this, and this is why I don't believe it to be so, we need to listen to him. Not say, oh, well, he doesn't know what he's talking about. No, we need to listen to him, because when he speaks, his peers are going to listen. We want to listen and create programs around him. And I want to say something about rehabilitation that's also interesting, is that it ended in the state of California with Jerry Brown as the governor the first time. He didn't want to introduce mandatory minimums, which, I mean, once upon a time, schools and everyone else was invested in the prison systems, because when you stood before the parole board, you had to say that, listen, I got my degree, I got my GED, I'm now an electrician, I can do this. So this demonstrates that I can go into the world and sustain myself. He implemented all that. It was him as mayor of Oakland who complained about the fact that Oakland was getting all of these parolees who were not prepared, that only had $200 in their pocket, ready to readmit, and they're not educated, they're not. He initiated that. And it should be also noted that as governor now, he's mentioned nothing about anything as it relates to rehabilitation. And if there's a person here that represents Jerry Brown's office, I don't apologize.
I think that
So I want to say, you know, but in terms of making change, we need to talk to the individuals who are going through a system, who have walked out successfully, who are now looking to us for information. We need to listen to them. We need to learn from them. I want to hear these two individuals speak. We want to hear success stories. And every type of activity that we engage, we always want success stories. We always want to hear what worked. Something is wrong when the people who are successful do not get access to the microphone. So let's hear from these folks.
With that said, thank you, Mr. Hartman, because that's a pertinent. I know I have about 4 questions on the floor, but I wanted to give Dr. Marlowe an opportunity to talk about the work that's taking place at the Gamble Institute, because it speaks specifically to what you were saying, Mr. Hartman. Dr. Marlowe.
Well, thank you so much, Ron. I'm hoping that my colleagues and friends, Victoria and Yima, will speak also to what's happening with our Street Scholars program. What we did, I'll just briefly overview what the program is, and then I'd love to hear Veronica and Yima just share a little bit about what their experience has been in the Street Scholars program. We got together about a year ago and started meeting to talk about what formerly incarcerated folks really needed to be supported and be successful in a college setting. And we've been meeting since summer. Yeah, and what we're doing right now, and we're opening this up to anybody who is a formerly incarcerated person, currently or actively on parole or probation, or formerly on parole or probation. We do want to hear from you, and we're conducting focus groups and individual interviews to hear about what your experiences have been, trying to get through school, coming out, who helped you, who was important to you, and how can we create our Street Scholars program here at Merritt College as a supportive program to help people get through college and be successful. So it's very, very exciting. We're actually willing and ready to do focus groups after the panel if anybody's interested. And it's very important that you know that it's not me as Dr. Marlowe, although I do prefer to be called Elizabeth, doing the focus groups. It's the actual people. It's Nima, Victoria, Ron, our other friends and colleagues, Marcus and Earthy. They are leading this project. So to me, it's exciting because it's the birth of something that's really being driven for and by the people that have experienced, as Adrian was talking about, have experienced and lived this, in my mind, really horrible and devastating thing. So with that, so if you're interested in doing a focus group, please come talk to any one of us after the panel. And I just want to pass it over, yes, I'm putting you ladies on the spot. Just to talk a little bit about your experiences and where you think the program's going and where we're headed.
My name is Eva Lee, and I'm a formerly incarcerated ex-parolee. I never actually really believed that there was somebody who really cared about the fact that within the prison system there was an issue that kept us all going continuously. In fact, I do agree with you when you say that I speak to my peers. I don't really listen to a lot of other people. And And you know, it's an honor just to listen and hear that there is somebody out here who's doing and taking action. I don't believe I can turn into a complete activist. I've never been to the SHU, but I got a brother in the SHU. You know what I'm saying? I got cousins who are in the SHU. I stood and looked at the people come out the SHU. I watched them go to the SHU. And I don't understand why there's a whole society that's inside a prison. It's like going to, you could go to the mall in prison. I don't understand why that's possible within the world. I didn't know it. I didn't know it was wrong until I met somebody. You know? So I don't have, if you haven't asked me another question, I hope I can answer it.
Yeah, I just want to add this question. Since the prisons have become more privatized, has it gotten less rehabilitative? Or, you know, has it gotten less where they try to help the inmates educate since it's become more privatized?
I probably yes. I would agree with you. I probably yes, but I'm gonna tell you, you know, I don't see no rehabilitation in the jailhouse. No way. If you ain't classified a certain way, you have no access to any programs. You know what I'm saying? And then when you get out, you got to work it on your own, man. You know, you go in there and you feel your spirit and fix yourself inside the prison. The prison system is not there to heal you. Hello. All right.
All I can say is that I'm here to support the whole system of parolees, anything that has to do with helping the community. I just want to say that we're here, my schedule's here on Tuesdays from 1 to 3 in the P100 building downstairs. If you guys want to talk, I'm here to listen, I'm here to be here. In any way that you need, I know what it's like to need help or even to speak to somebody. So again, we're here, my schedule's here on Tuesdays, meeting events, so catch us there. And another thing is the peer mentoring program that we're offering, we do pay you $20 if you decide to participate in our focus group. It will help for us to know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, and what help you, and that can help others. So thank you again.